Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of November. I hope you are well. I'm using the Marigold Tarot for you today. Hasn't had an outing in a while, but it was quite insistent that it was the one that wanted to come out, which combined with the extremely intense meditation that I did before I started this reading makes me think that there's quite a lot going on with you at the moment. I just want to say happy birthday before we talk about anything else that comes out. I hope you had a nice day. So, before I go any further, if you've not seen these readings before, I structure them slightly differently to the main monthly reading in so much as we are looking for the lesson. I believe that there is wisdom, or indeed a lesson, contained within every experience and interaction that we have if we are open to see it. And too often we are not, because we get bogged down with the minutiae of our day-to-day 3D existence, right? We just get stuck with it. So consider this, if you will, an exercise in perspective. We pull back and have a look and see what the wider lesson is, you know, what is being shown to you here. 100% of the time, it will be showing you something about yourself. But we may also have, you know, we may have things closing out, you know, and a need to release those things. We may have things coming in that we need to embrace. We won't know until the cards hit the table. So what I propose to do is we will pull 3 cards for your current energy, like an energetic snapshot, if you will. And then from there, we will pull 3 cards and see why it is that you are in this energy in the first place. What is going on, you know? From there, we will pull 3 cards of advice and see if we can't help you navigate this a little more easily than you might do otherwise. So, I hope that makes sense. I'm sure it will by the end of the reading. So, let's have 3 cards for Scorpio's current energy, please. There's the first. There's the second. And third. So we have the Page of Swords as your first card. We have the 10 of Swords and the Ace of Wands for your second set of cards. Let's go one more card for Scorpio, please. What's going on here? We've got the 6 of Wands. It's a Leo card. It speaks of victory. That's so funny. Before I started recording, once I picked up the deck, and I immediately saw the Queen of Pentacles. And she's quite interesting in this deck. She's very, very different to all the queens in the other decks, Queen of Pentacles in the other decks, because to me she always looks angry, right? There's a rage here. She looks like she's holding up that ring ready to fucking throw it at somebody. And with the cards that are down on the table, oh goodness, with the cards that are down on the table, it suggests to me that there is struggle with you here at the moment. You know, that there are feelings, deep feelings, that are coming to the surface that are going to take some work from you to process them, Scorpio. Now, you have done an awful lot of work this year, a tremendous amount of work, and in some ways it feels to me like that was a readying you for what you are dealing with right now. The cards that are sitting behind the Queen of Rings are the 6 of Cups and the 10 of Cups. Now, the 6 of Cups is the past, but what I heard was innocence when I looked at this card here. There's a betrayal of innocence somewhere. And I just want to show you this cards, because in the Marigold, rather fittingly, all the cups are depicted as skulls, right? And skulls are a symbol of Scorpio, right? We know that, death and Scorpio and things like that, right? But that 10 of Cups there, which is usually a card that speaks of emotional fulfillment, right? Of more than just one, you, more than just you. It has nooses on it. And it feels like something has flared up here, something that has in some way betrayed your community, betrayed your family, betrayed someone. There's so much strong emotion here, I can barely find words for it. And when I saw this card, before I saw this card. You know, when I had a flash of it when I picked up this deck, the thing that I understood very, very clearly about it, because this Queen usually is associated with nurturing, with taking care of things, you know, taking care of yourself more specifically. It's about knowing that even what is going on around you at this point should not be cause for you to abandon what you have spent so many months this year cultivating in yourself. Right? This sense of peace, this reaching towards the light, and despite the darkness. Because whether you realize it or not, Scorpio, you know, I've literally just trotted out this quote and somebody else is like, when everything looks dark around you, look to yourself because you may well be the light. That is what I am feeling for you here, Scorpio, very, very strongly. But it is absolutely imperative that you do not abandon yourself at this point, right? There are many ways in which it would be possible for you to do that in pursuit of, I don't know, something else. But there's a really beautiful quality to this reading, Scorpio. I don't want it to feel like it's all doom and gloom, because it's absolutely not. We've got a tension between the cards. There's a bittersweetness about the cards here, because we've got the Page of Swords. Now, that's a really good card. It's a card of often changing your mindset, changing the way that you think about things, but it is also a card of information coming in. And whilst it seems to me like the information was welcome, because as a Scorpio, you like to know all of the things, it also cut quite hard, you know? That Page of Swords there, we've got a ribcage that is full of roses, and that rose imagery is also seen here on the next set of cards. But it was like filled with roses there, absolutely filled with them. But that knife is right over the vertebrae, you know. Could even be like a kind of sword of Damocles of sorts, almost like what you suspected but then got confirmation of. And the next card that you have is the Ten of Swords with the Ace of Wands. Now, the Ten of Swords indicates completion. It would indicate the receipt of information that you were kind of anticipating, but perhaps were hoping not to get. It is absolute confirmation of that. It is confirmation, perhaps, of an ending of some sorts with you. But it's one that is, for some of you, this is absolutely life-changing, because one does not take the intrusion of 10 swords into one's skull without there being consequences to it. But the decision for you, Scorpio, is what you choose to do with this, how you choose to move forwards, because there's no mistake here about the Ten of Swords being followed immediately by an ace, right? We have an ending and a beginning here, and the way that the cycles work is like this, you know, it runs from the ace to the 10, and when you hit that sense of completion, then you move to the next ace, and you're always moving up over and over again, building on the back of the old experiences and the wisdom that you are accruing along the way, even if it is painful. But the Ace of Wands is about the way that you live. It's about the way that you experience the world. Something has shifted deep within you this year anyway, Scorpio. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But this feels like it's the culmination of that process for you. And so how you choose to move forwards, what you choose to do, taking that one rose, which you're filled with many, but taking one rose, what is important to you, and choosing to experience life on that level, is critically important for you moving forwards. So much so that the next card that you have is the Six of Wands. There's that card of victory right there, the Leo card. But again, it's not roses, to be fair. It's a different kind of flower. But sixes always indicate movement. This is not a time to stand still. This is not a time to abandon everything that you have learned about yourself this year. It's not a time to succumb to old ways of doing things where you abandoned your own basic needs because of what was going on in front of you. You must hold these two things to be true and move forwards despite it, okay? Towards a sense of certain victory. Now, the fact that these cards are all showing up at the same time, like I said, there's this kind of tension between them. There's almost something approaching conflict, except that it shouldn't really be expressed in those terms. That's not quite what's going on. It's almost like there is the darkness here, but there is the opportunity to take the light and shine it, moving forwards, you know? There's the transmutation of what could be a very heavy, very painful situation and turning it into something beautiful, giving it meaning, Scorpio. And you are one of those signs that looks for meaning. Scorpio, Sagittarius, Leo. There are probably more, but those are the three that come to mind immediately. And so it becomes bittersweet. Why is Scorpio in this energy? Scorpio in this energy. We have the Magician at the bottom of the deck here. You know, sometimes Virgo, sometimes Gemini, but ultimately, from an energetic point of view, it talks about you being given tools, or even just the understanding that you have all the tools that you need to move forwards. And there is a direction that you are being pointed in, Scorpio, and I feel like you know it. I feel like you know it very, very strongly, because this Ace of Wands is right here with this Six of Wands. It's painful, but nevertheless, there is purpose here. There is meaning here. Now, when I asked what it was that, you know, what is the lesson here for Scorpio, what we've got is the Eight of Swords. We also have the Ten of Pentacles, and we have the Five of Swords in reverse here. Now, the meaning of the Eight of Swords is very much about mental restriction, right? And what we see here is you bursting right out of any kind of restriction that you have ever placed on yourself. Now, I forget the exact astrology that is going on at the moment, but I know that Pluto is extremely active. It's kind of doing stuff with Mars, and it's doing stuff with Mercury. Eris is in there somewhere as well. And this is all about rebirth. This whole time is extremely Scorpionic, and it would make sense to me that you are feeling it so acutely, so keenly here. But rather than, you know, the ways in which you have suffered before, this becoming yet another way in which you suffer, this time is different. This time there is meaning that you can input into this, and there is something that you can do with this experience and everything that you've learned about this experience that is wholeheartedly positive and doesn't just affect you. Here's the interesting thing, because the Six of Wands is very conspicuous. It's a very public card. There is no sense of things being done under the radar, which is, you know, is often the way that Scorpio prefers to work. You know, you don't show your hand all of the time with things, because life has shown you that that doesn't end well for you. And yet there is this exposure here for you. You know, with it being a Leo card, there is an element of leadership here. It's almost like you have to put yourself front and center now. You have to allow yourself to be seen. You have to let your light shine and let other people see it too. And whatever has held you back in the past has been completely obliterated. Right? The self-sabotage, no time for it whatsoever. None. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles, the Ten of Rings, as it is in this deck here. This is a card that I associate strongly with Taurus, even though it's not actually a Taurus card. What is it? It's a Virgo card, I think, if I remember rightly. I might be entirely wrong there. Capricorn, maybe, I cannot remember, right? I just know it's not Taurus, because Taurus in the middle sets the pips. But it does correspond to all the earth signs. And what the earth signs choose to do is to build, right? That's what they're good at. They are builders. And I think the fixed signs generally have that kind of aspect to them too. But Taurus being your opposite sign, and them having this interesting kind of Uranus transit going on that is really quite a thing, and then there's Pluto thing going on too, right? Like everything's up in the air, everything is blowing up, Scorpio. But rather than hunkering down, it's about really truly choosing to commit to what is in front of you now, that way in which you feel pulled, the bittersweet path that you have been put on. It's all about absolutely committing to that moving forward, and committing to a sense of building something new, not just for you but for everyone else, you know, in whatever sense that applies, you know, whether that is your close family, your friends, your community generally, or whether, you know, we're going some together bigger than that. Humanity, who knows? The only person who holds you back, Scorpio, is you. And I think that that's something that you've known, and it's something that you've been comfortable with for a very long time. It's like, well, I'll do it when I'm good and fucking ready. And if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it, right? That's kind of a fixed sign thing. But there's no sense of you being able to be coerced into a direction. More, this is springing directly from the heart. And your mind doesn't have a say in it. None whatsoever. And it in that way, it is, like I said, it's blowing away, blowing up any sense of self-restriction that you may have had up until this point. The last vestiges of it are just rolling away like dust now, and there's a commitment to a new path, but not the new path for the sake of the new path, but for where that new path ends, what it leads to. You know, we've got the Five of Swords in the reverse for the final card for the lesson here, and this is brilliant, because these 5 cards, numbered 5 cards, are agents of chaos. They're disruptive. You know, they can tear things down to the ground, and they're inherently unstable. So the most stabilizing thing that you can do with a card that is numbered 5 is turn it upside down. That's what you've done here. Now, the sword suit is all to do with communication, intellectual stuff, cerebral stuff. Thought patterns, you know. It is the communication of ideas, whether internally or externally expressed, and in its upright, it can talk about having to talk to someone that you haven't spoken to for a long time, and that being very difficult, or it can talk about losing touch with someone, you know, that you like to speak to. It's a change in the communication. But it's sort of every single one of those and all of them at the same time, Scorpio. Let's get this deck of the bastard out here. Because the way that you think is having to change somewhat on the hoof, you know, it's got to change swiftly. And it's almost happening so swiftly and so holistically that there's no thought going into it. It's just happening, you know. Thank you. The Queen of Swords. And the Death card. There you are, Scorpio. 8 of Pentacles. There's a sense of purpose here. There's a sense of work. And these 2 cards here. You know, it's almost like there's no time left for you to think about things in the way that you used to. You know, this rebirth of you that has been happening over and over again, possibly on a daily basis, but maybe even on an hourly basis, as things are occurring to you, as you're putting things together. Every one of these is a small rebirth, but there's a much bigger rebirth of you going on altogether. And so the Queen of Swords is helping you keep objective with everything. She's got that very discerning energy to her. And the ability to sniff out bullshit from a mile away, you know. She's a lower echo of the Justice card for me. And perhaps there is a situation that you wish to bring justice to, but there's a situation that you understand very, very well. And it's almost like the reason behind it you understand very, very well. And you know that this transformation, this rebirth is necessary, even though it's extraordinarily painful. Make some cards of advice for Scorpio, please. What we got here? So, we have the High Priestess at the bottom of the deck there. That is Pisces energy. It is highly intuitive. I mean, Scorpios, you are highly intuitive, right? But this is, I mean, for some of you, communication is coming via a different route than what you had usually, you know, understood it. And take from that what you will, right? But what we've got down here is the Ten of Cups and the Four of Wands. There's an adjustment here that needs to happen, because the Four of Wands is about building a new foundation, right? So we have a previous foundation, such as it was, and it seems to have been compromised in some way or another. But then we have this Four of Wands that is implying that it is for you to build the construction of a new foundation with whatever it is that you know, whatever it is that has happened moving forwards. But we also have the Fool and we have the Star. Oh, what extraordinary cards. This is a card, yes, of a new path. But this new path requires a new energy from you. And the meaning of the Fool is nothing if it is not trust. Something that has been very hard for Scorpios to come by their entire life. The universe is asking it of you now. You may not know exactly where you are going to end up, but you need to trust that the path that you are on now is the right one for you. And combined with the Star, I mean, that message is delivered dual-fold, because the Star is about connection, right? But it's connection between you and a celestial body in the sky. When we say, you know, I followed my guiding star. Everybody knows what that means, but when you really drill down into it, what it means is that this is a fucking great big celestial body in the sky that was twinkling at me. And I felt such a sense of connection with that. And that furthermore, I trusted that sense of connection so strongly that I agreed to be led to wherever that was taking me, wherever it was going to go. And I didn't quite know where it was going to be, but I followed it anyway. And it worked out right. You have been picked up, Scorpio, and redirected. You're not the only sign that this is happening to. And now it's time for you to draw on your resilience and your strength to bring a new energy to this new path. To honour it as it is asking you to do so. Even though it pains you. You've got the Three of Swords sat behind the High Priestess there. There is pain associated with this. And yet, you're being asked to follow this path anyway. It's pretty intense. I feel like my brain is an absolute vice at the moment. Oh, okay. I hope that this helps, Scorpio. I really hope that it helped. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.